Hey everybody, Kimberly here with Forever Home. This is the same company and designers as Dog Park and the expansion, which I recently talked about how much I really like that game, particularly what the expansion offers Dog Park. Now, if you're looking for maybe lighter fare, maybe a 30-minute game instead of an hour game, and even more abstract with that same lovely dog pictures and cards and theme, you're going to really enjoy Forever Home. Players are going to take a 5x5 grid board in front of them, and it very clearly labels you get 2 actions on your turn. They can be the same thing or they can be 2 different things, and the actions couldn't be easier. Are you going to take a card? Are you going to take a dog? Or are you going to move a dog? And what you want to do is you want to configure the dogs in your grid or in your temporary housing before you send them off to a forever home. And you want to configure those dogs the way your cards say. And you can have dogs that are of the same kind or same breed, and they need to be in maybe like a crisscross fashion or an L, or maybe space between them and that space can't be taken. Whatever your configuration card states, if you have that on your turn outside of your actions before, in the middle, or after, you can claim it, and then you're going to essentially rehouse the amount of dogs that's stated in the little house symbol in the top corner. Now at the end of the game, you're going to score points that are in the bottom corner. So there's this kind of trade-off. Do I send dogs to homes and then score points that way? Or am I going to do maybe a little bit more on the victory points at the bottom of those cards? And the idea behind that is that you're training those dogs, and then they're going to go to those locations very happily. There's the city, the suburbs, the countryside, and the foster home. And every game you are going to shuffle up the cards that are available for those particular types and reveal one where you have victory point conditions based on the kinds of dogs that you send to those 4 locations. And I really like that because it means every game is going to be slightly different. And then the other thing that changes every time are the little dog figures that go out into the central board, and those are going to dictate what you score as well at the end of the game. Those 3 commendations are about training, rehoming, and different rehoming spaces. So when you look at that very first one, it states that most of a specific dog in training, it encourages you to leave certain dogs inside of your training grid and not necessarily rehome them because you're still working on a couple things and you're going to earn some points that way. The other one is most specific dog rehomed. And those dogs are going to be identified by those little figures that are placed out randomly at the beginning of the game. Whoever has the most of the corresponding dog type across their homes. And then the last one is most of a specific dog across different homes. So whoever has the corresponding dog type across most homes, this is not the total of dogs, but the total of dogs in different homes. And so you're really vying for these points for these particular breed types that come up. So there is this idea of making sure that you have your dogs in a particular configuration, but then sending the dogs to the home that's going to make them the most happiest, I guess, is so to speak. That's kind of like the theme behind it, the motivation behind it. And so there are several steps that you need to consider to essentially execute your turn. Now, the game is going to trigger, the end of it is going to trigger when a player essentially trains their 7th dog or more. Then players are going to have equal turns, so make sure you finish that particular round, and then you will count up those points, looking at those commendations in the center and counting up the points of victory points listed in the bottom corner of your trained cards. Lastly, you're going to take a look at those 4 different rehousing requirements and then get victory points based on how often or how much you met that particular need. Much like with Dog Park, I really like that this game goes from 1 to 5 and it has that solo play. I will say that there are some opportunities here for an expansion or for kind of like a follow-up, maybe like a pack to come out that offers players a different variety of cards. In this game, there are only 2 different kinds of breeds of animals that you can have on one training card at once, where they are all one type or all the other type, and you'll see the 2 different symbols. And so if you see a dog in a configuration, you're going to see maybe it has a lighter dog symbol and there's another lighter dog symbol somewhere else. Those 2 dogs have to be the same breed. Now whatever you pick is fine, it's up to you. But those have to be the same. And then there's a darker color with the same symbol, and that means it's a different breed, and then there might be multiples of that particular one. And in the entire deck of cards, the training cards, there isn't an opportunity for players to have maybe multiple breeds training at the same time on that particular card. And I think that'd be a really nice balance to bring in, because when you draw from the bag, which I love bag drawing, you may be drawing a lack of particular breeds that you're looking for, or other players might snatch up the ones you're looking for, and then you don't necessarily have those particular dogs at your disposal. And so I think that kind of having something to pivot to, having a different kind of training card would be really, really great. But I understand the idea behind having 2 different types, or on one card you might just have one particular type of dog, one breed needed. And then the other thing I think that would be really fantastic is to maybe have an extended play, because while this is a really fast game, I feel like players get to that 7th card super fast. And maybe there's some way that it could be extended with maybe, playing your 10th dog, your 10th training card out, because that 7 comes so fast. And I feel like this is a real race to the finish. And not that you necessarily win if you play down your 7th training card before other players do, but I think that that's where you get points, and that's where you rehouse your dogs, whenever you earn that configuration, bonus and play that card down. So the game is super straightforward. I appreciate the core mechanics and the idea behind it. I really was surprised at the kind of abstract nature of it, but I think that the kind of, balance of playing out your animals for whatever goal is for that particular round. You might have different, commendation bonuses, and you might have different rehousing bonuses, because every time you play, it's going to be different. I like that a lot. I love drawing from a bag and having, 4 different, in a smaller player game, you're going to have 4 different cards available and 4 different animals available, so that when you take an animal or you take a card, that's essentially one of your actions. And if you want to move an animal, you can move diagonally, which I really like. I think that's great. Super, super basic actions, really easy to teach, super easy to get into. And I think there is room to grow with this game and to offer maybe a little bit more extended or a dynamic play with that, adding a 3rd breed into the training cards in the future, possibly. But boy, is it fun, and I sure do like Lottie and Jack Hazel's games, and I was just so excited to get my hands on this one. The next time I play, I'm going to use the advanced shelter rules, flipping that grid board over and playing with those opportunities that give you an extra action that kind of helps you mobilize and kind of helps you be a little bit more flexible. Because when you play a dog down onto a space on your grid that has an image, you get to activate that particular bonus or action in addition to what your normal turn offers. And so that advanced shelter really just gives you a little bit more strategic play in the game. And I think that's fantastic. Forever Home is going to be one of those games that I share with my dog-loving friends and maybe cat-loving friends alike. All right, everybody, I'll see you later.